Hi guys, it's Beth and welcome back to my channel. Today I just wanted to come back to the Pinkaboo pad that I have been working on that I started in September. I was hoping to do just like one big final card share, but I haven't been able to finish it up yet like I had hoped, and so I wanted to at least come in and show you the cards I have now already, and then I can kind of come back in and do a two-part card share for the cards that I've been making from this pad, because there will be a lot of cards like normal, so maybe it's best that it's broken into two videos anyway. So I have been working on the Pinkaboo pad from CraftSmart, and I have made a lot of different projects with this pad, and I'm finishing up with the cards, so I thought I would share. So there were a lot of different size of cut aparts in this pad. There was at least one page that had a bunch of different size. Actually, I think most of the pages had a bunch of different size cut aparts. Some were big, some were small, and so it was kind of a challenge figuring out how to use them all. But this one, I just thought lent itself perfectly to a slimline card. So this was just the cut apart, and I just kept it very simple. Took my slimline card base, just a white card base, and covered the front, and then added a strip of the gold skull paper there in the background. And then this one is similar. This one, it's just the gold background with the skulls. This was another big cut apart, Trick or Treat Yourself. And again, just kind of kept it simple. Took the cut apart, layered it with some of that gold skull paper, and then some pink cardstock. And this is a 5x7 card. It was I believe a 4x6 or something close to that size cut apart. This wasn't a cut apart. It was actually part of a full page image. And I just thought this was beautiful. And so I took, this was I think the bottom right corner. I just took the bottom right corner of the page, cut it down, and this is another 5x7 card. And just wanted those beautiful pumpkins to be kind of the focal point of the card. And then there was another 12-inch full page image that I think I ended up cutting down into for different things. So there were some flowers in that other one that I kind of cut apart, and I just took those flowers, fussy cut them from that other page, and then included them on this card since they did tie in well. And then I have Hello Pumpkin, which is one that I print out for my silhouette, and then I just backed it on another fussy cut flower. So I thought these turned out so pretty. I almost don't want to send them. I would like to frame it. And then, of course, I used card sketches for most of the rest of these because you know me. I love sketches. I love how it makes it a little bit easier for me to get through the rest of my paper and make cards. So this is my favorite thing, sketch number 372. Just used a border strip and some of the pattern paper, and then a stamped sentiment, and then just took some scraps of the pink that I had and just punched out a few small little circles to act as enamel dots. One thing I will say is, again, when I start the card part of my pad process, I always look for patterns that I can use as card mats. So these would be more of a simple pattern, or a solid, something that could act as a solid, or that is solid enough that it would not take away too much from the rest of the card. So that's kind of one, I had a pile of card mats that I had already cut down from some of the patterns I thought would make good card mats. So that also makes it easier to kind of go through and put together the cards. There were a lot of border strips in this pad too that I was trying to use up. Next is Freshly Made Sketches number 122. This was a cut apart, and I just backed it on some other pink paper from the pad, and then there are two border cut aparts together here on this one. So just used a couple different cut aparts together. Next is my favorite thing, sketch number 249. And I like this one. this one turned out really pretty, just I think mainly because of the cut apart. This is one of the cut aparts, already had a gold frame around it. And again, this one also says trick or treat yourself, but really pretty with the pumpkin. So I just took some of the pumpkin pattern paper that has like gold leaves in it as my card mat on this one. Felt like I could go a little bit bolder with my pattern, and then just took 3 pieces. I think this was scraps from the pad. There was like a solid purple scrap piece that I had that I just trimmed down. So I have 2 of those as well. This one I did not have a sketch. I was just trying to use up like a bigger piece from the pad. This was one of the full 12 by 12 images, and I just cut it down and kind of focused on getting that sugar skull out of there. And that's where I think these flowers came from, was this particular page. You know, I love all the flowers and the pumpkins and the colors, but I was really done with the skulls. There were so many skull prints in this pad. I don't understand it. I mean, it's called Pinkaboo, and there was like 1 or maybe 2 ghost images and some spiders, and the rest were all skulls. So I would have rather they had more variety of like Halloween type images, but I mean, the papers were still pretty. I just got tired of using the skulls. So anyway, this was one, I just cut down one of the corners of the pad so I could focus on the skull, backed it on white cardstock, and then backed it on some more skull paper that kind of acted as not a solid, but you know, a non-busy pattern. And then Let's Get Spooky was something a phrase I had Fussy cut out from another part of the pad. 2 of those. This next sketch I have a handful of cards from, and this is Freshly Made Sketches 416. And I had a bunch of this spider web paper, like with the gold foil webs, which was very pretty, kind of an ombre effect to it. And then I had some of the spider paper left, and so I just cut all these down into the same size so that I could make a bunch of cards. And actually, I think they are the same size. And then the white piece behind it is the same size. It's just kind of at an angle to offset it a little bit. And then for my sentiment here, I just used, in some cases, I used a piece of border strip or a cut apart. I don't remember where this one came from. So Let's Get Spooky, I had, I think, 2 of those. And then on the rest of them, I just used some sentiments that I had printed out from my silhouette, because I don't have a single line Happy Halloween stamp. All of mine are like double lines or bigger, so I printed those from my silhouette. And then there's one that's a little bit different because it's a different size sentiment. So I have another set of 5x7 cards as well that I did not use a sketch for. And again, this was a cut apart. I think it was a 6x6 size cut apart. And so I just fussy cut out the skull and the flowers that were on its head. And I don't know if you can see it, but there is some Wink of Stella on the flowers. So I'm trying to pretty up the skulls as much as I can. And then Happy Halloween, it was part of a border strip, so I just cut that down to be my sentiment. So I got, actually, I think there's quite a few. There's 6 5x7 cards that I got out of here, and then I think a total of 8 slimline cards, if you include my sheet load batch that I did. Next is Sunday Sketches 007. And I got 3 of these, and they're all pretty much the same, maybe just different pieces down here for the banners. So I got to the point where I was using some of the skull paper as my background or my card mats, just to try and use it up faster. And the gold part of it does at least help make everything else pop. And Happy Halloween was another one I printed from my silhouette, that one. So here are, I thought I had some more of these, but I don't know if they're down somewhere. But this one I made into a fall card because there were some pumpkins and leaf paper that were not necessarily Halloween. And so I did try and make some fall cards out of this pad. But Hello Fall was a sentiment I printed from my silhouette. And I just double matted this one on some pink and then gold cardstock, gold foil cardstock. And then this is actually two different patterns here. This was like a 12 by 12, page pattern, and then this was a border strip that I included on here. And I just liked the difference in the size. And so then I just kind of separated it here with a little gold foil strip. And then I die cut a leaf out of some of the gold foil as well. So those are very pretty. So in this batch of cards, I was just trying to use up some of the ghost paper that I had left. I had some squares, and so I did a couple different variations of using the squares, and these are just on some solid cardstock as a card mat. So I have my square. This was a cut apart or a border strip piece that I cut down, but then I did add, this is a sentiment I printed from my silhouette too. It says, "You are fabulous." Same thing, except for same sentiment, used another little boo. Here I just used, I think on both of these, I used the border strip or cut apart that I had that had some ghosts on it as well. And then here I just used a different boo. So I was just trying to use up some of the different pieces I had left at that point that coordinated with the ghosts. This is a deconstructed sketch number 129. And in this one, again, I was using the Boo paper. And Boo Y'all, that is a sentiment I printed for my silhouette. I thought that was kind of fun. And here just used, I think in all of these, I used the same pink stripe paper as my card mat. And then some cardstock, I think they're all cardstock pieces for my strip here. Just different pattern, different purple pieces that I had left, so they're not all the same color purple. And then I did use a pattern paper from the pad as my scallop circle mat here. But I got about 6 of these. So I always love it when there's a sketch that I can kind of mass produce cards from the pad. If you're working with cut aparts, it's harder to do. Usually you can only get like 2 of each card, but whenever you're just working with the paper and stamps, you can make up a whole bunch of the same sketch. This is my favorite things, sketch number 61. Here, this was a cut apart, and it already said Happy Halloween. So I just took a spider sticker. It's like a glitter web and spider, and added that onto the corner here of the little cut apart, and just kind of layered in some papers that I had left from the pad. And I was excited about this, and then when I didn't pay attention when I put the card together that these were silver and that's gold, but it still gives it a little bit of fun interest with all the shiny and the glitter. And this next one I have a whole bunch of, and it is a Sweet Sunday sketch number 239, and 2, 4, 8 of these, so this was a good sketch to use up some paper. And I believe on most of these I used some cardstock as my card mat, and then pattern papers for the rectangular elements, but I did back them on some white cardstock, and then I used a variety of strips that I had left to cut down into the banners up here, and I believe there's a mix of sentiments as well. This one was stamped. So this is what I ended up doing is just going through, and whenever I cut down my card mat pieces, there's always a strip left, and so I just went through and cut that strip down into I think I actually used the sketch measurements, 3.5 inches. And then for this part, I actually cut it down to, I think, 3 by 4.25. I think I followed the sketch because it had the dimensions on it. But I just went through and cut all the pieces down and then just kind of matched them up. So you can see there's a variety. Most of them are the stripe and the skulls, but there's, a couple different variations to them. So that's what, whenever I'm working with a sketch, I will see what just kind of go through and look through all of my scraps and find out what pieces that are big enough that I can, use for this particular sketch, and we'll just cut them all down and then kind of put them together. It's just kind of a fast way to mass produce. All right, so this is Sweet Sunday sketch number 300. And there was this pumpkin, and I think it was a square, and I just used a circle die cut to cut it into a circle. And there was this Oh My Gourd, which was part of a border cut apart, and so I used that, and then just added a sentiment from a stamp from my set that said, "You are awesome." And I did 2 of those. Oh my gourd, you are awesome. Thought that was a fun one. So here I was trying to use up one of these like big images of the spider, and so I just cut down, the spider that was in the corner to be my main card piece. Use some of that gold foiled spider web, a strip of that up here, and then a sentiment from my silhouette that incorporated some spider webs. Last pile. This is my favorite thing, sketch number 352. And this was a cut apart in the pad, but it had the pumpkin, but it didn't have anything in here. So I just took a stamp and stamped Happy Fall on the inside, and then this was like a big piece of pattern paper, and then this little pumpkin strip was actually a border strip. So I got 2 of those. Oh, this was another good one I got a handful of. This is Mojo Monday sketch number 515. And was using the pumpkin patterns. There was a smaller pumpkin pattern that didn't have any gold foiling on it, so for this card I just used that one as my background, and then used the bigger pumpkins with the gold foiling kind of as my focal point, back them all on some gold foil cardstock. And then Hello Pumpkin is a sentiment I printed for my silhouette, and I actually did pop this up on a little bit of foam. I don't do that very often, but I just thought it worked well for these cards, and I didn't really add a whole lot else to them because, the gold foil, it's just kind of one of those simple, but, it's a simple card, but the gold foil helps it pop. All right, so here's the other 2 of these leaf ones that I knew I had. Next one is my favorite thing, sketch number 457. And a fairly simple one. Oh, that's not. Oh, that goes with the leaf one. So that went with these. I was like, the cards that were underneath that sketch didn't go with that sketch at all. So this one, I just took some black cardstock and then double matted my spider piece here, and then used a sentiment from my silhouette going across the bottom. So really simple, but still pretty. Next is Sweet Sunday sketch number 170, and again I have a bunch of these. And here I got to use some fun little glitter spider stickers that I had in my stash. And on these I kind of used a variety of papers. I went through and found ones that would fit as the strip here, and then what I could use as the square, scraps that I could use for the little pieces here, and then anything that I could use as a card mat, but it looks like most of these are all just cardstock. So here are a couple with the spiders. That one uses the gold foil spider web paper. And then we have some of the skulls. And so there was a border strip that had just a bunch of skulls lined up, and so I just cut some down to be a kind of a focal point, or the little embellishment piece on these. My favorite thing, sketch number 331. And again, I got a bunch of these and used the skull paper and then some more of those skulls that I trimmed out of the border strip as a little embellishment here. Happy Halloween, the sentiment was printed out from my silhouette. So I got a bunch of them that have the purple background, and then this one I used some of that gold skull paper and then a sentiment or a strip, like a border cut apart strip, and that one I also used the border cut apart strip. So a bunch of cards, and I still have a good amount of scraps left that I will continue to work through. I was really hoping to be done with this pad by now. I just have not had any time to really focus on it. A couple things to note about this pad. I mentioned earlier about all the skulls. I got to the point where I was tired of using the skulls, and so I ended up just turning it over and using the back side as like mats, white mats for different pieces. So I don't know if this is one or not, but I would just use, yes it is. So I would just turn it over and use the white side and, you know, mat some of the elements that were on my card. And that is one way that if you really don't like the paper or you're really tired of a certain pattern, you can still continue to use it. It's not going to waste. And using that, turning it over and using that side of the paper also helped me kind of go through the pad just a little bit faster. So that is one thing I'd like to note. And I've enjoyed this pad. I've, like I said, struggled with the skulls. That kind of slowed me down at times trying to figure out the different ways to use them, but I'm still loving the colors, like just gorgeous. I mean, I hate spiders, but how can you not love the pretty, the spider with the pretty flowers on her back? So this has been a fun pad to use, and hopefully I can get that used up soon and share the rest of the cards with you guys. If you have any questions, let me know. I will, as always, link the sketches that I used in the description box below. And I thank you guys so much for your time today, and I hope you're all having a crafty day.